I'm Dr. Mollie Marti, and welcome back to Resiliency Matters. Today we are chatting with Angela Maiers, an award-winning coach, speaker, author, and youth builder in my mind. We left talking about the resiliency quotient, RQ. Fill us in.
I'm not sure that's an official title, but I wanted to give parents, I wanted to give teachers and students themselves a quantifiable measurement of what I believe will absolutely accomplish what their goals are and help move them through. And if you take the elements of what success is and what the success of falling forward or moving forward is, it's your willingness to embrace change. It's your willingness to take risk. It's your willingness to wonder, to ask questions all the time about your circumstances and reframe those circumstances through those questions. Your willingness to adapt, your willingness to accept. What about this situation can I control? What about this situation can I not control? Your willingness to serve, your willingness to see whatever your role is, that in some way your story can be of service to other people. Your willingness to hope, and most importantly, to instill inspiration and hope in others. It's not just for them, it's for you as well. And most importantly, your willingness to act. And I think that's where people fall and stay fallen, is that they feel paralyzed by the circumstance, and taking action takes an extraordinary amount of courage. And it's the presence or absence of any one of those attributes or any one of those factors that defines what I would call your resiliency quotient, or your RQ.
And I love a couple things about that. One, that you're here taking a risk. This is new work. You're thinking about it. We were talking about it earlier. And you just put it out there to say, this is where I am with that. You're modeling the risk-taking for us and the courage for us. And I love that.
Thank you.
And then we also will write some blogs and put out additional resources around this. So angelamaiers.com, choosetomatter.org, and our crproject.org site.
That's
so
that I want your feedback. I want your questions, because this does need to be worked out in public with the community. Absolutely.
It's wonderful work. And then you have another takeaway. I have Michael Jackson singing in my head every time I think of this. The ABCs, 1, 2, 3. We've simplified a process to build youth. As simple as ABC.
Absolutely.
Step number 1.
Step number 1 is awareness. And I mean awareness on 2 levels. Self-awareness, of course, for the individual to be aware of what those attributes are. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? How do they prepare for that? But the awareness, especially in messaging to adults, the awareness of who kids are right now. I think that with great intention, we worry about our kids' future. We worry about it as teachers and parents. We're so worried about who they become and who they need to become that we don't take time and really cherish who they are now and start looking for those attributes, because you can find those attributes in every 5-year-old that you meet, and to really understand that those are the exact things that you want to develop.
So increasing your awareness, your presence of just being with a child and allowing them to be.
That's right.
Who they
and
are.
Then, do you want me to move into the second?
Yes,
B?
maybe so I just did the perfect segue.
So that was the A. So be aware. The B is believe. I think that we see children as children, and we don't see them as often as contributing members of a community that can offer you insight, that can offer you lessons, that can bring to you perspective that no other person can, because children see the world so differently, and believe that they are capable, and believe that they are strong, and believe them into who they can become before they know that they can become that. That whole body of research on self-fulfilling prophecy, there's science behind that. We believe what we will become. And then the third is to challenge, to absolutely understand that we don't want to run away from challenge. We want to lean into it, because it's within that challenge, it's within our heartbreaks that we actually become the person that we have the opportunity to become, and that it's not something that can be avoided, and we shouldn't try to protect kids from adversity. We should not try to isolate and insulate them, because we're in a sense saying you're not capable. We don't believe that you have what it takes to fall forward, when the opposite is true. So
And we do have that as part of our culture, and I know you're out speaking to schools and in communities, and you're seeing that too, but culturally, and I've done a little soapboxing on this, I think that we take especially our adolescents, our teens, we set them aside, say, okay, you just have this period in your life where you're not going to contribute much, you're going to get smart again in your early 20s, circle back to us then you can contribute. Or we get into a kind of a zombie action of running them around to this activity and that activity, and not really spending that time with them of getting to know who they are, what their passions are, what their dreams are, what their strengths are. Do you see that, and how?
All the time.
What would you say to?
I think that we underestimate our youth at an exponential rate. That they're not undereducated, they're not underloved, they're not underserved, if you will. They're underestimated. And if we don't expect contributions, then we can't complain that we have an entire citizenship of passive, recipients that don't think for themselves and that don't problem solve and don't act. We have not given them practice in doing so. We have not given them challenges and supported them through. And the riskiest thing we can do is keep kids safe. The riskiest the riskiest things we can do is keep kids safe. It's like training them their whole life in a baby pool when their world is going to be the ocean, and it's not predictable. And so they've got to have small chances to practice that and small wins over small waves before they get hit by a really big wave.
And Mitch Matthews, a mutual friend of ours, was just on, and we were talking about helicopter parenting. Yeah. And he was saying that's the primary driver is I got to keep my kids safe, I got to keep my kids safe. And he talked about the power of taking off that parent hat and putting on a coach's hat.
Absolutely.
What tool would you say if we have parents who are really struggling, and especially the work we've done in a post-suicide community, and tensions are running high, and they do get very fearful about their children. What tool would you suggest or advice you would give?
I think to reframe how we look at fear. So I define fear as false evidence appearing real. And many of the scenarios, which is part of the resiliency quotient, is asking yourself questions. What's the worst thing that could happen? So if that happens, what's the response? So if this were possible, or what if? And most of those what ifs are very small and far between. What is the benefit if my child got to experience this? And I think in that reframing and finding other people that can demonstrate what happens if we let them fall a little bit, we let them fail a little bit, we let them experience degrees of adversity that they can handle, they might show you how really strong they are and how really capable they are. And over, I see adults surprised by kids. I cannot believe my kid did that. I can't, in a good way. Mm-hmm. You should be surprised. Kids have the capacity to surprise and to inspire.
That's wonderful. And that leads us to tool number 2, your takeaway. The ABCs of youth building: accept each individual child, believe in their ability, and challenge them to take risks and own their strength. Ready for some practical action steps to build resiliency? We're on it when we come back.